I am a married woman, married at the age of 30. My son is 2 years old. When they first got married, the relationship between husband and wife was not bad. But then he had a child, and his parents came to help bring it up. There was some conflict between me and his mother. These contradictions affect our relationship as husband and wife. My husband is 2 years younger than me. He is the youngest child in the family. Since I was a child, I have been very pampered by my parents, and I don't care about anything. And I died early because of my mother. He has always been a very independent person. Married life is getting more and more dull. Life is boring and boring. There is no passion and sweetness of love at all. Even married life is becoming more and more light. The husband is the kind of man who asks very little. After I gave birth, they rarely live as husband and wife. Physical dissatisfaction, spiritual emptiness. It makes me feel that marriage is like a glass of bland water. There is no joy in getting it, and there is no reluctance to abandon it. I met him last spring. At that time, I wanted to buy a house and looked at a lot. I finally took a fancy to a real estate. The sales lady told me that it was sold out. Later, my friend introduced me to the manager of the company's sales department. Let me try it with him. I don't know what I've ever done, but I still mustered up the courage to look for him in his office. I didn't expect him to be very kind and enthusiastic. It's busy though, but I still promised to help me find a way to help me as much as possible. He was a man in his 50s. Compared to my husband, he seemed wiser and more capable. The first time I went to see him, he was in a meeting. Let me get back in 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, I texted him with the urge to give it a try. Unexpectedly, he immediately gave an answer, and in the end, I was given the best set of units. Also gave a best price. My heart is full of gratitude to him, and his kindness and gentleness also strongly attracted me. We are constantly in contact with text messages. His writing is also exquisite. I was amazed and appreciative at the same time, because there are many procedures for buying a house, and my husband doesn't care at all. I'm running alone, so a lot of times I ask him for advice. He answered me patiently and carefully every time. I don't know if it's because of my gratitude to him, or because of dissatisfaction with his married life. I finally found out that I was hopelessly in love with him. After the house is done, I dressed myself up beautifully. Take the opportunity to thank him for a meal. I saw him coming from afar. I was so nervous that my palms were sweating. Every time I went to see him, it didn't matter if it was noon or night. I saw him alone in the office. I thought he was divorced or single. Unexpectedly, he told me that he had a very happy home. I have a 20-year-old daughter. At that moment, my mood was extremely low. I don't know what this meal tastes like. After the breakup, I couldn't help it. Sent him a text message telling me I was in love with him. Actually, I just wanted to tell him what was in my heart. It's painful to be buried inside. A reply from him was received soon. He said he was excited to receive my text message. I wanted to do it, but I couldn't be happy. After all, he and I are both family people. Thinking back to that text message, I really regret it. I feel like a bad woman, betrayed her husband and family, and to destroy other people's families. But I don't know why. I always had no way to control myself. There's no way to keep yourself from thinking about him. Just a few days later, he asked me to meet. Not long after they met, he offered to open a room. I paused for a moment. I never thought I would have anything to do with him. I just want him to know the feelings I have in my heart for him. I immediately understood what he meant by thinking about it. I angrily refused. I was a little disappointed and a little sad. Then he respected me and didn't mention it again. For more than a month, he invited me out to dinner like a friend. Let's go for a walk and chat in the park. And I have a good impression of him in my heart. Another shot out of control. Finally, on that weekend, he asked me to meet him in his office. When he hugged me, I couldn't say no more. We're excited. It's been a long time since I've enjoyed this kind of exciting sex. But after the orgasm, I couldn't stop crying. I really don't want that. I feel like I'm low, but I couldn't help it. With such an intimate relationship, my attachment to him was even more overwhelming. What I didn't expect was that since that time, but he didn't look for me again. I called him and he always said busy. Once I couldn't help but miss it. I went to his office to look for him, saw him and a female colleague in Wankan. When he saw me, he was very unhappy and blamed me, and I kept apologizing to him, asked for his forgiveness and hope he doesn't leave me. Actually, since the first time, he has always been very cold to me, and my feelings for him are growing stronger and stronger. I also knew it wasn't right in front of him. Not only do I have no self-esteem, not even the least respectful of them, I also made up my mind not to contact him again. But half a month later, the pain of loneliness that I can't get rid of and the longing for him, still I can't help but call him. So he took me to open the house again. I enjoyed that sexual stimulation and orgasm again. I found that I couldn't live without him and I loved him so much. Is so attached to him, thinking about him with all his body and mind. Soon after, he was hospitalized. Actually, it's not a serious illness, but I still go to the hospital every day to take care of him, bring him food and water, and set up his ward. When there is no one in the ward, we went crazy and had fun. Half a month in the hospital was the happiest day for me, because I can be with him day and night. When he was discharged from the hospital, I cried. I said, I don't want you to be discharged. I want to be with you. After he was discharged from the hospital, sent a text message thanking me for taking care of him, and then nothing more. I asked him to meet him, and he said he did. On weekends, he said he was going to spend time with his family. I think he was going crazy and begged him. He said no. He made an appointment with a customer to eat today. Later, it was about time to eat. I'll call him again, ask him if he can see me after dinner. But I distinctly heard him at home. I felt like a fool. Stand in the cold wind and wait for his arrival. For his sake I betrayed my husband and family. For his sake, I don't hesitate to have no self-esteem. But why? His voice was still cold. Finally one day, I couldn't help but want to see him. I walked to his company to look for him during my off-duty hours. It turned out to be in his office. He was seen affectionately with another woman. coming out of the room where we used to be affectionate. At that moment I understood, I'm not even his lover. I always knew he was more than just me. I don't dare ask him to like me alone. I just hope he can give me a little affection. But he refused to give even this pitiful little bit. I left his office crying. Back home, how I faced my family, how to face my husband and children. My heart ached as if it were being torn apart. The soul cannot find a place to rest. I don't know how to get out of this quagmire. At the same time, my body was thirsty again, but the husband always coped with things in a hurry. I had to find myself some exercise, go swimming, go dancing aerobics, but I can't fill all my schedules. As long as there is free, his figure appeared in front of me. My heart will sink into pain. There is not only a desire for him, and self-blame for yourself. It made me lose my spirit and suffer a lot. Human desire is a terrible thing. It will destroy everything in your life, including your will and self-esteem. Now I think about it, the ordinary family life of the past. It turns out to be a kind of happiness too. Although the husband can't speak sweetly, he is not handsome, but we can live in peace. It was calm and peaceful, but because of my restlessness, inflicting so much pain and suffering on myself, I'm struggling, I'm trying. I told myself not to look for him again. Be sure not to look for him again, but I don't know if I can do it. What am I going to do? Can anyone tell me how I can cast out the devil within? Get back on your feet.